Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I thought it'd be fun to do is to talk about my favorite go-to places when I'm looking to buy a watch. And some of them are newer, some of them I've been doing for a long time. Some unfortunately no longer exist. So let's get started. Now, the first one is a place called everywatch.com. Everywatch.com is just they seem to have every watch everywhere that's for sale. And so what you can do with it, one, you can see if the watch you want is there, and also you can find what the best price is and where it is, what country it's from, how many days it's been up there for sale. Uh, Now, there's some of them, they have sort of a subcategory and they have these little locks by them that requires a subscription. I don't have a subscription to them, and so I can't unlock those. But in certain cases, it may not be a bad idea to pick it up for a month or something. But the subscriptions are not cheap, and so I am. So I don't go there. But every watch I think is a great starting place if you're looking for a watch. Go there first, see where it's from, and this really makes a difference. For example, there's this one Armstrong. It's in the lower right-hand corner for $67,000. I can't afford that, and so I'd have to look around and find something that is more affordable. It's also in the U.S. Now, the one right above it is 19,500. Now, that's something I might be able to save for and get. The importance, the things have changed recently because watches come into the United States from Switzerland, where I guess, most of my watches come from anyway. They hit you with a 10% tariff. I don't know why Switzerland has no tariffs against us. Who knows why? We buy lots of watches from them, and they buy a billion smartwatches from us. So I just don't see the connection. But so much for that. Okay, never mind. But it can be important. If you live in the UK, you're going to get hit up with something like a 20% or more or less VAT. So I guess everybody has some extra things, but it's good to take a look at to see where the watch is coming from and whether or not you're going to have to pay anything extra on it. Now, the second place is a place called the Watch Outlet. Now, the the watch outlet, the thing I like about it, they have these great sales, and the number of watches they have in terms of the brands that they always have is somewhat limited. You can see right there that they have ones that I'm interested in, like Parmigiani, and of the ones they have there, Jaeger-LeCoultre, maybe Omega, Rolex, Mont Blanc, Venice. For the most part, they have seem to have some other ones too. That they'll have a thing that'll say new arrivals, and sometimes they have some outside of that. But the thing about it is they seem to have some kind of connection directly with the watch manufacturer and saying, well, we're going to not be producing these anymore. We have an oversupply, and they can pick them up and then sell them to us at a good price. The other thing I found out about it is that I subscribe to it, and so they send me these emails every now and then, and some of them have they're really good prices to begin with, and then they'll have a discount from those. So if you're looking for watches and sort of say, take a look at it. It's worth looking at to see if there's something there you might like. Now, this next one is really different. This is a place called Herology by the Sea. I got one of my dream watches here, which is the Parmigiani Ovale Pantograph. And here's what happened. Let me tell you, I was looking at it. It was at a really good price. I couldn't afford it. I mean, it was more than I could afford. And the guy who's the owner of it is a real cool guy. His name is Brandon Skinner. And so I said to Brandon, I said, but no, I said, this is a watch I really love. I said, if you ever have one for the price that I could afford, let me know. So I got a note back from Brandon. It turns out that the watch, that particular watch, and possibly some of these others, especially the higher price ones, may be in sort of a type of consignment type of deal. In other words, somebody else owns this, and they take it to Brandon and they ask him to sell it at Herology by the Sea. And so I guess what happened, he called the guy, I guess, who wanted to sell the watch that I want, the Ovale that I wanted, and told him that what I had mentioned. Now, I didn't set it up as a deal. I said, hey, I'll give you this, and try to bargain or anything. I just said, look, this is a wonderful watch. This is what I can afford. If you ever have one that comes along at that price, let me know. And he did, and I bought it. The other thing about Herology by the Sea, a couple different things. First of all, it's the West Coast dealer for harboring two. In the United States, there's one in Philadelphia at Martin Pulley, and on the West Coast, it's Herology by the Sea. And so if you're interested in a harboring two, which is a wonderful watch, this would be one of the places I would definitely look at. He has another brand that I don't know too much about called Sherpa. They're very reasonably priced. But the thing I like about Herology by the Sea, you can find so many different types of watches. For example, up in the upper left corner, there's a Georg by Langenheim, which is just a fabulous watch. But you don't find those. I mean, you go to your typical place, you don't find it. There's a Urek, a Resonance, a Sarpaneva, and then over in the lower right-hand corner, there's a Sin. Sin is around 3,000, I think, and then the Urek is 40,000. So you have this wide range that you can find there. And watches you're not going to find anyplace else. So it's always a fun place to check out. Now the final thing I wanted to mention is that these are some places I found watches. And as you can see, they're very different. On Chrono 24, I go there a lot, and just because they have so many, and they're well organized. I found Moritz Grossman for around 6,000. Now, if you know Moritz Grossman, they start around 20 or something like that, and the one I found was virtually brand new, and still can't get over it. Wonderful one. On eBay, now eBay I've always identified with really inexpensive watches. But I found my Vacheron Constantin Mercator. I saw it in another place for 75,000, which of course is way over my head, and I found a great deal there, and it's fantastic. Del Rey is another place. Federico, you may know of Federico, who's got his own video blog, and he's always talking about this and that. Del Rey, what Federico had made a deal at some point with Urban Jurgensen when they had sold their company, and they were getting rid of all of the watches that they had because the new owner was going to come in and sort of bring back a whole new line of Urban Jurgensen watches. And so they sold them, and they sent them to Federico at Del Rey, and I got my Urban Jurgensen there that I could never afford otherwise on this deep sale. Another place that Federico told me not to go there, Bill, don't go to 47th Street in New York. That was where I got my FP Journe In fact, I got two FP Journes. One I had to sell, which was turned out pretty well. But 47th Street, not for beginners. Go to If you're ever in New York City, go down Fifth Avenue. When you get to 47th Street, you turn up, you go up what looks like an alley almost. There's people all around, and it's called the Diamond District also. And there are some watch stores in there. Now the one I found was sort of like there was a forgot the name of the company because they may come and go, but it's on 47th Street. And that was the guy that gave me this great deal on these FP Journes. So, you know, buckle up if you go there. I'll tell you, I swear, every other person standing on the street there is a bodyguard. Trust me. You can take anything you want. You can take your get out of jail free card that you got for your wife at Tiffany's up there, and no one's going to grab it from you. Okay, another place, I used to get a lot of good watches there, the Solist. It used to be called the Shop One, and it's, again, the Solist.com. The they don't have as many as they used to. The ones I liked was they used to have the older H. Mosers. This was after the good ones came in, and before it was taken over by the Malin family. They have this whole new line of the greater ones that they have now. I was able to get some good deals on a H. Moser, and I think I may have got Parmigiani there. I'm not, it's a while ago on that. Joma Shop, you're probably familiar with Joma Shop. I got a Vacheron Constantin 1921, brand new, $10,000 off the list price. What happened, that was during the Asian crisis when China wasn't allowing people to buy watches. A lot of extra ones, they came back from China. Joma Shop got them, gave me a great buy on one. The 1916 company, I think it's Govberg. Anyway, the 1916 company, I think that's what they're called now. I got an FP Journe Vagabondage 2. I think I also got a, what was it? I got one that my wife took from me. It was a, LVMH, Louis Vuitton. It was one of the Louis Vuitton World Timers and stuff. Got a really good, was working with them. There was a problem with it. They fixed it, no problems. On the Vagabondage 2, they had one. I looked all over for one. This was for a friend. I can't afford a Vagabondage 2, but I got it for a friend. Belmont watches. Now, this is a shop in San Diego, and they had a Chanel Monsieur. Now, those things are like sky high and rare. And they had jumping hour. I love the watch. It was beautifully done, and it had the movement in part was done by Romain Gauthier. Got a great deal from Belmont watches. So, and they also have a very high rating. Now the final one is a place called the Timepiece Collection in New Jersey. Like the online they have is called the Timepiece Collection. I got a Harry Winston, and I got a Parmigiani 1950 Loon. Now, the guy who owns it is really a cool guy. He's an AD for both. Well, he used to be an AD for Harry Winston. I don't know if he still is or not. But what happened was that I got a Harry Winston from him. It was almost brand new because the guy who owned it had like $1 million collection, and he wanted to have a Harry Winston just to have one. And then he found another one, and the reason he wanted it was that his initials were HW. So I had this other one that I wanted, and he gave me a great deal on it. And then he's also an AD for Parmigiani. Well, when Parmigiani came out with their new line, they had some really great ones in the old line I wanted. One was the 1950, it was called the Parmigiani Fleurier Tonda 1950 Loon, and it had these double northern and southern hemisphere moon phase. These are some places I found it. I think I think starting with every watch is a great idea. Checking out some of the places like Herology by the Sea, where you can find some really different watches, is a neat place. I've had great luck with the watch outlet too. Let me know what you think, and I bet you have some great hidey holes. Maybe you don't want to tell us about them. Maybe you do. Let me know. This is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collecting.